Why are people getting forced to get a vaccine or wear masks or all of the other mandates that we have in place? You know, that's a great question. That is a great question. The reason why, I cannot tell you. I've gone over it a bunch of different times in my head. Why are corporations or businesses forcing people to get this? We talked about it last week. If you want to, you can go back and watch my video, but we talked about the vaccines and their effectiveness and the fact that vaccines don't stop the transmission of this disease kind of contradicts the fact that they want to force people to get the vaccine, because what the vaccine does is it stops people from getting sick or getting severely ill. You can go to the CDC's website and find it right there. It literally says, and I'm going to quote them, it says, it's not 100% people who are fully vaccinated can still get COVID-19. So they could still get the disease even if they're fully vaccinated. And yet healthcare workers and people that are on the front lines or were on the front lines when we first started this, and now they're not, they're getting removed from the front lines, are being forced to get this vaccine, even though they're healthcare workers and they know better. They know their bodies better. I mean, we're supposed to trust them, right? So if they trust that this vaccine isn't something that they want to put in their body, then good for them. That's something that they shouldn't have to do. They shouldn't be forced to do it, and there shouldn't be mandates put in place for this. That being said, the mandates themselves, it's almost coercion if you look at it from that perspective. Coercion is when you force somebody to do something that they don't want to do by threatening them. If a man was threatening a woman to have sex with him, and if they didn't, he would hurt them or hurt their family or do something bad to them besides sex and raping them, in a court and a jury of your peers, I'm gonna convict that dude. I mean, theoretically, right? You're forcing me to stick something into my body that I don't want in my body. I mean, if you look at it in both ways, it's exactly the same thing. Now, I want to dive back to another pandemic that has hit the United States and the world. One of the most craziest and killing pandemics of all ages, the influenza pandemic of 1918. From 1918 to 1919, it was like a year-long pandemic where things were going crazy. We're about a year into COVID and things are still crazy. So I want to just kind of correlate the two, because influenza during the pandemic killed 675,000 people per 103 million people in the 1 year during the pandemic in the United States. That is 0.65% of the population back then. Now, COVID deaths, 770,461 since COVID has arrived, which was back in 2020, per 333,691,290 people. And we're over triple the population of back then, and we have only 100,000 more deaths of COVID during this pandemic compared to the influenza pandemic. 0.23% of the population has died due to COVID. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not trying to be insensitive about anybody who has lost a loved one. If you've lost a loved one due to COVID-19, man, I really feel for you. And if that's put you in a place of fear for COVID-19, you have every right to be afraid. However, I haven't, and there's quite a few people that haven't, especially if you look at it from a statistical standpoint or from the numbers point of view. That's the only thing that I was trying to correlate, was the numbers between influenza deaths and COVID deaths. But let's continue to analyze this, because this video is about mandates and it's about the rules that are set in place, and if those rules are actually effective or if they're just something that the administrators are putting in place because they want to control us. Anyways, back to the influenza pandemic of 1918. The way that they stopped the pandemic was not through vaccines. Triple the percentage of deaths per capita in the United States. And the way that they limited that number, the way that they stopped that number, was natural ways of doing it. Literally staying home, using disinfectants, having good personal hygiene. They say on the website, on the CDC website itself, it says non-pharmaceutical interventions. So that's how they fought the pandemic, was by doing things naturally. If you're sick, stay home. Again, this is about the mandates and how, if they're effective or not effective at all. And to be honest, if you look at the numbers and the way that it's all going from a viewpoint of what the science is saying, like people say, trust the science, the vaccines are good, trust the science. The science is contradicting itself. The scientists that we're supposed to trust are contradicting themselves by putting up numbers and putting up truthful statements that the CDC is saying that the vaccines don't stop the spread of COVID. We're still in the red zone in the United States. Vaccines aren't stopping the spread. They're just protecting people from getting hospitalized or getting severely ill, which is a choice that those people are making, and the choice should be free for all of us that are making that choice to put ourselves at a higher risk. And to those of us that are at a higher risk, if we have to go to the hospital because we're literally can't breathe or something like that because the symptoms get so severe, then we probably have an underlying health condition, which means that you probably should get the vaccine, because then the vaccine is going to help protect you. And one other thing I wanted to talk about in this video was masks. I see all these different videos on social media and people, backing up the masks, and I get on the airports and I go to all these different places. Like I was in Las Vegas. You look at local sports in our villages, and in Alaska, you look at the professional sports, anything that's on an airplane. You can wear your mask, but then you can take your mask off in an airplane and eat your food. Let's say it takes you 30 minutes to finish your food or whatever. You had your mask off for like 30 minutes and you're like 2 feet away from somebody else. You're literally elbow to elbow with somebody else, and maybe they were eating their food. So at what point does the mask become irrelevant? A basketball team gets on the basketball court, takes their masks off, then they have to go and sit on their bench and wear their mask again. I just don't understand the logic behind sitting on the bench next to your teammates and then getting on the court and then playing against the other team, and everybody's sweating on each other, spitting on each other, all that stuff because you're just playing basketball and you can't control some of it, and then going back to the bench and all of a sudden you got to put your mask back on. That logic just doesn't make sense. Here's a question for you guys. Are masks an unhealthy situation? Are you breathing in your own carbon dioxide that you're supposed to be exhaling? I know that they say masks are supposed to stop for everything from getting out. So if it's stopping it, is it stopping that carbon dioxide also from getting out? And then you look at those videos where they're doing or people that blow into the cold air and where the water particles and all the air gets out. It's like if you wear those surgical masks, it goes out the back, and K95s, it all goes out the back. So if you're sitting on an airplane and you breathe out and it goes back, now you're just shooting that breath straight back to the person behind you. At what point is that those mandates irrelevant, because those people that are vaccinated can still spread COVID? But I just don't agree with them because I see it being broken so often. Masks and vaccines are the big mandate topic right now. So you look at all of these things and you take all of them into account. I don't understand the logic behind what a mandate is and what a mandate is going to do to help improve our country. Because the only thing I see a mandate doing is dividing our country. That's all it really is. It's about dividing us and making us fight about stuff that's irrelevant. Literally, this video is irrelevant, right? Like, why are we talking about this? Why do we continue to talk about this? And why does it continue to be the topic at every dinner table, at every conversation, and every place we go? At what point does it just become, hey man, to truly go back to normal, we just go back to normal. There's no masks, there's no vaccines. It's just back to choosing if you want to or not want to. Because that seems like the most logical way to solve all of this solution. The numbers don't add up, the logic doesn't add up, and it just doesn't seem right to force somebody to do something that they don't want to do. That would be like me forcing you, physically forcing you to watch this video, and you don't have to. And I'm super supportive of those people that want to get the vaccine, and I'm supportive of them if they don't. I'm supportive of them if they want to wear a mask, and I'm supportive of those that don't. It is up to you. It's up to your choice. The ultimate thing is understand and see the divide that's being created with all of this. Understand and see that people are just fighting over a topic like our masks that we have to wear or our vaccines that we have to get, whether we need them or not. And I encourage you guys to join me in that fight. Not the fight to get everybody vaccinated, Not the fight to stop people from having to wear masks or to wear masks, but the fight to restore humanity and to restore the love we have for each other. You guys, thank you so much for putting up with me for these videos. This is just a discussion that I want to create. These are my personal opinions, and it's just a place that I want a chance to discuss these things and to voice my opinions and to voice what I have to say. So here I am, willing to put myself on the line and be vulnerable, because if you're willing to be vulnerable with somebody else, that puts you in a place where they can trust you and you can trust them. And I want to make sure that everybody's okay. I want to take care of our communities and restore that love that we have for each other, because the only way we're going to get through all of this and start to work together again is by working together in the first place. So I'll see you guys in the comment section.